Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stats podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 73, Dern versus Hill. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit that subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. Quick recap. We had another lock, a lose. This streak has to end. We came through clutch with Morono despite his weight cutting issues, but old man Court McGee, you can't fade an old man with an old man. We learned the hard way. I always say people over 40, but I think just Court was over 40 in fight years, and there's just a lot going on there. So that's a mistake on our part. It was so obvious and so clear, and we so ignored it. So, at the end of the day, looking to get back on track. We did have both the dog set though, so all in all, it was a profitable night last week. However, I really, really, really like for all of the locks to hit. So, it is what it is. You dust yourself off. This is the game of MMA, and you go ahead and you hop back into it. And this fight card, everyone's complaining about. It's a free card. I don't have a major problem with it. There's some pretty decent spots on here. A lot of 50-50 and interesting ones, but a lot of decent spots as well. And again, as long as you're making money, it's fun to watch. So we can go ahead and we can start with the very first fight of the night. Let me pull this up for you. Jeez, we are not looking to do that. We're looking to hop into Tapology. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on our end, but at the end of the day, we're here to make things happen. We're going to record no matter what, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing. We're going to make sure we get this out to you. So now that this little technical error is out, we're going to start with the very first fight of the night with Takashi Sato going up against Themba Gorimbo. Straight pick them at -110. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 135. Under 2.5 -165. Let's start with Sato. He's someone that a lot of people are betting on this week. And I honestly don't really understand it. He has pretty decent striking and he strikes decently. He hits decently hard. He's had a great camp at Killcliff FC, training with, the likes of Gilbert Burns and Michael Chandler and people of that magnitude, especially around this weight class. But at the end of the day, he's rocking a 60% takedown defense. His strength of schedule is pretty good. I will give him credit. He's on a big losing streak, only won one fight in the UFC. Or sorry, two fights in the UFC. But he lost to Bilal Muhammad. He lost to Miguel Baeza, Gunnar Nelson, Brian Battle. All of these guys are okay. Gunnar Nelson's very good. Baez is okay. Bilal's really good. But his wins are over Chinny Jason Witt on short notice and Ben Saunders, who retired after the fight, old man Ben Saunders. So he does not have a credible win in the UFC. And again, to his defense, he's only fought wrestlers. Brian Battle knocked him out in 44 seconds. Nothing you can say there. But Gunnar Nelson, wrestler, grappler. Miguel Baeza, he likes to strike, but at the end of the day, he's a grappler. Jason Witt, to wrestler, grappler. Bilal Muhammad, wrestler, grappler. He can strike, but he likes to grapple. And Ben Saunders, he knocked out. So yeah, he has 4 losses, but he only lost outside the Brian Battle fight. He only lost because 1, he got caught, and 2, because he just got out grappled. On the flip side, we have Themba here, who's a long, lanky guy who you would think would use that to his advantage, but he actually doesn't. He's another wrestler grappler. That's what he wants to do. He's training over at MMA Masters with like the likes of Colby Covington, Nate the trains at MMA Masters, some pretty decent guys there. He's gonna have a 3.5-inch reach advantage here, which is nice. And his wrestling's not terrible. His ground game, he's very sloppy on the ground. He knows what he's doing when it comes to his jiu-jitsu, but he gets sloppy and he gets overexcited and he is submission over position and he loses his position and falls over the top all of the time. I mean, in his fight against AJ Fletcher, he literally had his back and just fell over into guard like 3 times. Like it was kind of hard to watch, to be honest with you. Yeah, at the end of the day, although he has a striking frame, he's not that great of a striker. He does not like to get hit. He wants to take you down and he wants to submit you. When you look at his wins, I mean, you're looking at a decision where he's just holding on for dear life. You're looking at triangle choke. You have elbows from a takedown. Guillotine choke, Darce choke, armbar, armbar. He's a wrestler, grappler. And when you look at his losses, he got choked out once. He got knocked out. Again, he does not react well to getting punched. AJ Fletcher, it shows guillotine, but it was a classic club and sub. He caught him. He dropped to a knee, and then AJ jumped on that neck quickly. So at the end of the day, he's a pretty decent wrestler, grappler. He has the body to strike, but just can't do any. Does not like to get hit. Going up against someone that all they do is hit hard, but they struggle with wrestler grappler. So I think the over under set at 2.5 because either Sato sparks him in the first round or Themba takes him down and eventually finds a submission. I don't hate the over at plus money because Sato does have. He's getting better with his jujitsu. He's still not good, but Themba's not the greatest on the ground. He's just okay. So the over being plus money, I like. But at the end of the day, this is a straight stay away. I'll probably end up betting whoever is the dog. Um, Honestly, I kind of hope it's them. I'll always take grapplers over strikers, so the pick is going to be Themba, but the bet is a straight dog or pass, and I would highly recommend just passing on this first fight. All right, next fight of the night. We are looking at Victoria Leonardo going against my girl Natalia Silva. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 110. Under 2.5 minus 140. Leonardo's plus 550, and Natalia Silva is minus 750. Let me tell you something. I said that Big Norm was my favorite women's MMA fighter. It might be Natalia Silva, to be honest with you. If you win me a lot of money, I rock with you until the end of the time. And Natalia Silva did that for me. Her debut against Jazz Devicius. No one knew anything about her. We haven't seen her in 2 years. Sorry, 3 years. At that point, she was what 25. She's 26 now. So yeah, she was 25 years old. We haven't seen her since she was 22. It was her her UFC debut. No one knew what to expect for her, but I did know Jasmine was pretty one-dimensional. And what I saw in the regional scene is that she's pretty good. Natalia has pretty good, Natalia has pretty good jujitsu. Her striking was decent, and her takedown defense looked all right. So if her takedown defense looked all right, she was plus 200. I'm going to take her over Jazz. The Natalia we saw, her striking was not okay. Her striking was phenomenal. Her takedown defense was not all right. Jazz did not take her down once, and she is still rocking a 92% takedown defense. Like, this girl leveled up, and we see that all the time. If you are a young fighter and you take 2 years off and you come back, you always win. We saw it with Chase Hooper. We saw it with Nikolai Nikaragamanu. These young people that are under like 28, if you take 2 years off and you come back as an absolute killer every single time. So in that sense, I said, you know what? She's been off 3 years and she's only 25 now. So I'm just going to take a shot on the dark. And she looked like Aaron Blanchfield 2.0. Like these two at this point, in my mind, could end up fighting for a title at some point. That's how much she impressed me. So her next fight, again, she had really, really good odds against this Teresa Bleda. People are all over this Bleda. They love this Bleda. She went out there, made it look easy, and then knocked her out and finished her in the third. So at this point, the UFC thought they just had a random girl that they were feeding to the lions and realized she is the fucking lion. So you know what? Let's feed her. Let's promote her. She's very marketable, obviously. What can we do with her? So they gave her Leonardo. Leonardo, not the greatest fighter in the world. She's kind of like a karate stance on the feet. She's not the greatest wrestler. She has zero power. Again, she'll try to mix in the wrestling, but it's not her craft. What she wants to do is be a striker. The problem with her is that she's very, very hittable. And even when she does try to pressure forward, Natalia in both of her UFC fights, strikes going backwards. And that's hard for a lot of people to do, but she puts up a ton of volume, really, really high volume while moving backwards. If Leonardo just charges forward, she's a karate point fighter. It's not how she feels comfortable. So not only will she have to chase Silva around the octagon, she's going to do that feeling uncomfortable and get pieced up the entire time. This thing could be a finish, and that's why you have a women's MMA fight with the over as plus money. Leonardo's decently tough, to be honest with you, so I don't hate the over. I was all in on Natalia until I saw the line and realized Vegas was hip to how good she really is. Seeing minus 750 in women's MMA is not normal, but I think Natalia is the real deal. I was all over Blanchfield. She came in as a dog in her first two fights. I will rock with her until the end of time. And Natalia Silva came in. She came in as a dog her first two fights, basically. And now I'm gonna rock with her. So I can't do it at minus 750. But I can bet her by decision and try to juice it up a little. But she does have the ability to go out there and knock her out. So the pick is going to be Silva. The bet's going to be Silva. I would only bet Silva by decision for any semblance of money. Otherwise, you could just try to bet the over or just stay away because the line is just too juiced. But Natalia's that good. All right, next fight of the night. We have the aforementioned Chase Hooper at plus 120 going up against Nick Fiore at minus 140. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 175. Under 1.5 plus 140. I did talk about how good Chase looked when he came back fighting who's that Brazilian guy? Fighting Felipe Colares. I went out there, just absolutely just drained him until he got the third round finish. Chase has really, really good jiu-jitsu. Chase has really, really good cardio. He's still only 23 years old. He was 18 when he got into the UFC. He was just a kid, so he's still developing his man strength. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I like Chase a lot. Here's the problem with Chase. One, although he's pretty durable, he's extremely hittable, and Steve Garcia finally took advantage of that in his last fight. Secondly, he's moving up to 155. I think that's good for him. He's big enough at 155. I think draining his body all the way down to 145 isn't healthy. I think he'll look healthier at 155, but we've never seen him fight there, and he already can't wrestle. He can't take you down. He was too weak at 145. So going up to 155, I don't expect him to be able to wrestle any better. I don't expect him to hit any harder. So it's a little concerning, and his striking is still trash. Even against Colares, he went out there and it was just punches and bunches, and it was sheer volume to overwhelm him. But the technique still looked god awful. It's terrible. He cannot strike. He gets hit very easily on the feet, and he can't really dish it back. But he's a ace on the ground. If he gets this to the ground, it's his territory, and he can usually get a dub. On the flip side, Nick Fiore, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So even if Chase somehow gets him to the ground, it's not just over like it is with other fighters. He's out of that New England cartel with Rob Font and Calvin Cater, so he has some good training partners, and they're in his around his weight class. His jiu-jitsu is good. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. It's accredited school through Renzo Gracie. Like he's accredited when it comes to his BJJ. His striking's all right. It's not good, honestly. But it's better than Chase Hooper's. Chase Hooper's is that bad. His wrestling, it's okay. It's not that good, but it's better than Chase Hooper's. Chase Hooper can't wrestle. So I think Nick should decide where this fight takes place. And if he ends up on the ground somehow by accident, I think he's going to be perfectly fine down there. If he forces Chase to stand and strike with him, I think that's what he wants to do. I think he just wants to piece him up on the feet. So I was all in on Nick. I was like, you know what? Chase Hooper has a name. It's going to be great. I'm going to get Nick a great dog value. But Nick is the favorite. Again, Vegas is hip to what's going on. But minus 140 is not a terrible look here. So at the end of the day, I think Nick is better basically everywhere. Maybe Chase has better cardio, but that's about it. So I'm going to take the talent. The pick is going to be Nick. The bet is going to be Nick minus 140, not the worse odds. All right, next fight of the night we can fly through because it's an absolute snooze fest. We have Alir Latifi at plus 160 going up against Rodrigo Nascimento at minus 190. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. Let's start with Latifi because he's a middleweight. He's a wrestler, and that is it. He is zero striking. He is zero jujitsu. He has a good takedown. He has zero cardio. He literally takes you down. He takes a single or a double. He does some body locks. He'll adjust in there. He's a great wrestler. So it's really, really good wrestler. He will take you down and not throw any strikes. He won't go in for any submissions. He will literally just sit in your guard. And when you look at his last couple fights here, he has a win over Alessio Olenek just sitting in his guard. He has a win over Tanner Bozer split. And he spent most of the round on top. He just doesn't throw. He just sits there when he gets there and tries to stay safe. Derek Lewis, he lost when I thought he won. He had like 13 minutes of control time in that fight. And they gave the fight to Derek Lewis because when he got on top, he just sat there. So at the end of the day, he has very, very low volume, some of the lowest volume I've ever seen. He has terrible cardio. He's 40 years old. Like he should be fighting at middleweight and has fought at middleweight in the past. Like he's extremely hittable on the feet. There's not anything to like about this guy outside of his wrestling. Everything else is abysmal. However, he's fighting one of the worst heavyweights on the roster. I do not believe in Rodrigo Nascimento. I think he's an absolute fraud, and I think he sucks. His wrestling's all right. He tried to display it in his last fight against Tanner Bozer. He's at ATT, which is a good camp, especially for heavyweights. His striking's not very good. He made Alan Badeau look good on the feet, so that's a little concerning. I have no idea about his takedown defense. We know Latifi's going to go for a takedown. I have no idea if Rodrigo can stop it. And his jiu-jitsu, yes, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, but he's not tapping people off his back. He's tapping people on when he's on top. So I don't really know. I don't see any wins where he tapped anyone out off his back. And that's probably where he's going to be on this fight. And because we don't know how his takedown defense is. He's never fought a wrestler. And if it's his first time, he's in for a doozy because that's all Lear's going to try to do. Um, I don't know. I just need some sort of like, I don't know. Honestly, someone should give me some sort of award for watching fight tape for this fight because this fight's god awful. At the end of the day, it's dog or pass. Both of them are god awful. The pick is going to be Rodrigo. The bet's going to be Latifi strictly because of the betting line. Literally, that's the only way. All right. And you know what? Honestly, Latifi, if you have a bet against Latifi and he gets on top and just sits there the entire time, the only way to make that fight watchable is if you win money doing it. So I'm going to pick Nascimento, but I'm going to bet Latifi to convince myself to watch the fight. Otherwise, I don't think I'll be able to handle it. All right. Next fight of the night, we have Orion Koski minus 130 going up against Gilbert Urbina plus 110. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 110, under 2.5 minus 140. Let's start with Koski because he throws me off. These guys aren't twins, they're just brothers, but they look exactly the same. And I can never tell which brother I'm watching. Orion's the better one, to be honest with you. Lewis sucks. Orion, I say he's the better one, but they fight the same way. They look the same. He's not that good. His wrestling's all right. He has a good wrestling pedigree. His striking, he has a ton of power. He has that farmer boy strength, but he throws his striking's bad. His striking's very, very bad. His cardio's very, very bad. His jiu-jitsu's very, very bad. Team Alpha Male, I'm not the greatest fan of that camp right now. There's nothing to like about this guy outside of his wrestling, to be quite frank with you. I mean, he was in a close fight against Blood Diamond for his last fight, for fuck's sake. And he missed weight during that, too. So, I mean, he has a loss to Phil Rowe because of how bad his cardio is. Like, that's he literally just gassed out against Phil Rowe, and he gassed out against Blood Diamond, but Blood Diamond wasn't able to capitalize. So, yeah, if you go into a close fight with Blood Diamond and now you're coming in as a favorite, if the other person has a pulse, I'll probably bet them. Now, don't get me wrong, Gilbert Urbina, I like him. I think he's pretty good. He's also brother. His two older brothers fought in the UFC, and now he's the third one. His striking is okay; it's pretty good. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. His wrestling's not terrible. He's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. His losses to Brian Battle and Sean Brady, good schedule, good losses. I like everything about this kid, except for one thing: his fucking chin. It's bad. It's really bad. I know he was fighting up a weight class at middleweight, but he was getting knocked out by jabs. So it's very, very concerning. If you hit this guy, he freaks out, he crumbles, and he just kind of sends it in. I think Orion's striking is god awful, but he does hit hard. So all it's going to take is one, and he's going to either go out or just kind of go out on his. He's just gonna quit on us out there, so that does concern me. But as soon as I'm about to hit that Orion button, I just remember that he almost lost the Blood Diamond because of his cardio. So instant bet because Gilbert does have a pulse. So the pick is going to be Gilbert Urbina. The bet's going to be Gilbert Urbina, and that line is moving. So I would bet it while there's still a plus next to his name. There may not be tomorrow, to be honest with you, especially after weigh-ins when you see how much bigger he's going to be. I think the line is gonna flip. So bet Gilbert now. All right, next fight of the night. We're looking at probably the toughest one of the night. Carolina Kovalevich at minus 135, going up against Vanessa Demopoulos at plus 115. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 280. Under 2.5 plus 220. Let's start with the stripper guard, Vanessa Demopoulos. Her jujitsu is great. Very, very, very good jujitsu. Her striking, work in progress, but it is getting better. Per the Die Hard MMA podcast, she's moving over to Factory Muay Thai X. Sorry, Factory X Muay Thai, which I think is good for her. She was over at Fight Ready. Her wrestling was improving there as well. She was known as a jiu-jitsu girl with no striking and no wrestling. Her striking was getting better, but still not the greatest. In her wrestling, she has a pretty good blast double now. They worked with her, and it looks pretty good, to be quite frank with you. But her striking still needs some work. So the fact that she got a lot of work in the wrestling department and now going to one of the best striking camps, I do like that. I don't know if they have a lot of female fighters that she's training with, but she can at least learn the technique and get well with it. Her cardio's good. She's a little hittable on the feet. Again, she's not the greatest striker, so I don't like how easy she is to hit. But again, everything is improving. On the flip side, and she's pretty durable. On the flip side, we have Karolina Kovalevich, who isn't the most durable any longer. She's also 37 years old, so that's a little concerning. Her wrestling, not too bad. It's all right. Her striking, good. It's actually pretty good. Her cardio is pretty good. Her strength to schedule, really good. She's fought a lot of killers. She fought for a title at one point against Joanna. She fought Jessica Panay, Yan Janan, Alexa Grasso, Michelle Watterson, Jessica Andrade, Claudia Gadelia. Like, these are literally some of the best 115 pounders not in the UFC, in the history of the UFC. So at the end of the day, she beat Rose Yamajunas. She's good, man. She's very, very good. She's a good fighter. She's just a little older. And she's talking. She retired at one point. I never bet retiring fighters. She already retired, and she's coming back. So I don't really know what to do with her. She's a little hittable. She's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, but everyone has that over Vanessa. She has pretty decent volume on the feet, and she will mix in the wrestling. She loves to move forward, and Vanessa does not fight the best going off her back foot. So I think Carolina wins. I'm just a little concerned that she's going to take her down. She loves to strike and mix in the wrestling. That's her bread and butter. If she mixes in the wrestling, that's where Vanessa wants to be. So she needs to just keep it on the feet, Carolina. I had this conversation with her before. As long as you're on the feet, you will win this fight. Do not take her down. And what did she do against the armbar queen? She took her down. She took Jessica Panay down, and she got tapped out via armbar. So the fight IQ was not there. Am I scared she's going to do it again? Absolutely. I'm petrified she's going to do it again. But at the end of the day, she has the more physical advantages. She's fought the better people. She's 37. She took a little break out there. I'll give her another year before I start fading. So the pick is going to be Carolina. The bet is going to be Carolina. Next fight of the night is probably the second hardest one to call, to be honest with you. We have Mahashate, plus 145 going up against Vyaklev Borishev, which is just Slava Claus at minus 170. Again, Mahashate plus 145. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 140. Under 1.5 plus 110. Let's start with Mahashate. He has pretty good striking. He's awfully young. He's only 23 years old. He's going to have a 2.5 inch reach advantage here. The problem with him is he's pretty hittable and he's rocking a 45% takedown defense. I know a lot of that is going to be Rafa Garcia, and Rafa Garcia can wrestle his ass off, so we'll give him a little bit of a pass. But it's not as if Borishev is going to come out there and wrestle him. This is going to be striker versus striker. Mahashate hits very hard. He's going to have the reach advantage. However, Slava Claus is the striking coach at Team Alpha Male. His striking's phenomenal. He is a little hittable himself, which is surprising. But he's only fought wrestlers in the UFC. Excuse me. He fought Beast Boy Mike Davis, got taken down 9 times. He fought Mark Diakase, got taken down 11 times. He fought Dakota Push, got taken down 2 times in the first 3 minutes of the fight. He fought Chris Duncan in Contender Series, got taken down 2 times. Again, the first 2, Dakota Bush and well, I should say Chris Duncan in general aren't really wrestlers or strikers, and they took him down pretty easily. So my guy has a 31% takedown defense. He's good at getting up, but he gets taken down quite a bit. Good news is Mahashate has never wrestled a day in his life. I don't know if he wants to shoot a takedown. I think he's going to want to stand and bang. We know Slava Claus is going to want to stand and bang. They're both pretty hittable, but I'm going to take the older guy here in Slava Claus. He's not old. He's just the older guy at 31. So the pick is going to be Slava Claus. The bet is going to be Slava Claus. Then the next fight of the night, we are into the main card. We have Michael Johnson plus 125 going up against Diego Ferreira at minus 145. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 125. Under 2.5 plus 155. Let's start with Michael Johnson because he is the definition of the apple pie shitter per Dogger Pass podcast. Shout out to Cody and producer Megan. Sorry, Paul Shaughnessy. If you don't give them a listen, please do. They're phenomenal. They're literally the best in the game right now. So make sure you always listen to the Dogger Pass podcast every Wednesday. But that being said, Michael Johnson, good striking, hits extremely hard. I think Kamaru Usman is the one that said he's the hardest puncher in the gym. Really, really fast hands too. He doesn't just hit hard; he's also very, very fast. He can slow in his fights a little bit, but again, he's at Hillcliff FC, which is a great camp to be at. He's rocking 80% takedown defense. He has all of the tools to just kind of to just stand and bang and put you out. And he's very hard to take down. And if you do get him down, he can usually pop back up. The problem is he just decides when he wants to and when he doesn't want to fight. It's like if he gets a high level competitor, he steps his game up and he looks phenomenal. If you give him someone a little lower to give him a win, he fights to their level. He just always fights to his opponent's level, whether it's championship level or not. This is the guy that has knocked out Dustin Poirier in the past. And this is the guy that's also lost to Clay Guida. This is a guy that's gone out there and knocked out Tony Ferguson in his prime. And then a guy that went out there and lost to Stevie Ray. So you never know what the fuck you're getting with Michael Johnson. To be honest with you, he is not reliable. Luckily, he's a dog in this instance. So you look over at his opponent and you think, is he someone that Michael Johnson can potentially put away? The answer is I don't know. Because Diego is 38 years old and we haven't seen him in a year. That's very concerning. And prime for prime, I'm taking Diego all day. He has great jiu-jitsu. His striking's okay. His wrestling got better. It's not bad. It's pretty good. And he can slow down a little bit in his fights, but he's at Fortis, which is also a good camp. And his losses, all good people. Yes, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but Mateusz Gamrot is a top 5 guy in the weight class. Gregor Lusby is a top 10 guy in the weight class, but Neil Dariush might be fighting for the title next. if he beats Charles Oliveira. So those are three pretty good guys. Even wins against the GOAT, Anthony Pettis, the greatest fighter of all time. Kyle Nelson's not terrible. Rustam Khalibov. I mean, these are pretty good fighters here. Jared Gordon, he went out there and starched. But again, his other losses in his career, Dustin Poirier and Beneil Dariush again. So he, in totality, he's lost to Dustin Poirier, Beneil Dariush, Gregor Gillespie, Mateusz Gamrot. He's only lost to someone who is top 10 in the weight class in the world. Like, that's it. So, all in all, he's a little bit of a generalist, but he's good absolutely everywhere. It's just he's 38 and we haven't seen him in a year. What's he going to come back looking like? Pound for pound, skill for skill, Diego should win this fight. But when you factor in age and just experience, ring rust, all this stuff, I think I am going to have to go dog or pass. God, I hate betting Michael Johnson. Diego's generally pretty terrible too. But I just don't think I have a choice. I think you have to bet Michael Johnson at plus monies here. So the pick is going to be Diego, but the bet's going to be fucking Michael Johnson again. Here we go. At least he's not a favorite. All right, next fight of the night. We are looking at Andre Fiallo plus 195, Joaquin Buckley minus 230. This fight happening at welterweight. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 135. Under 1.5 plus 105. Let's start with Fiallo because honestly, I think he's kind of trash. I think he's overrated. His striking's pretty. He hits decently hard, but striking's kind of basic, to be honest with you. He's just a wrestle boxer, and that's it. Like he doesn't throw any kicks. He hits decently hard, but he has pretty low volume. He likes to just pressure forward and stalk his prey, but he's hittable himself. His cardio, it checks out, but he does slow down. He doesn't gas out, but he slows down. He has 71% takedown defense, so he's not easy to take down, but it's not impossible. My biggest problem with him is that he's a glass cannon. He is chinny. If you touch this guy, he's going out. Jake Matthews, knockout. Muslim Salikov, knockout. Michelle Pereira, no, but did rock him a few times. Antonio Dos Santos Jr., no. Chris Curtis, knockout. Chidi and Jaquani, knockout. So at the end of the day, he has how many losses? 6 career losses, and 4 of them are by knockout. Yep, 4 by knockout. So his chin is definitely a liability. Again, he does pressure forward, which looks good for the judges. And he does hit extremely hard, which definitely looks good for the judges. But he's always getting hit back, and when he does, he usually goes out. I just can't trust glass cannons, but that's why this fight is such a liability because this glass cannon and Andre Fiallo is fighting a glass cannon and Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley is the exact same thing. He hits very, very hard, but if you touch him, he's going out. He has how many losses? 6 career losses. Out of his 6 career losses, he was knocked out, decision, knocked out, decision, knocked out. So he has 6 losses, and 4 of his are by knockout and 2 by decision. His wrestling's a little better. He will offensively wrestle here and there. And this fight is at welterweight. Most of these fights are at 185 for him as of late. His last 7 fights or so have all been at middleweight, but he generally used to always fight at welterweight, so it is big for him going back down. He's also going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which is nice, but he also slows down. So at the end of the day, we're looking at the exact same thing here. Just 2 glass cannons going at it. So I don't trust either of their chins, and they both have power. So I'm going to take that under, man. I know it's set at 1.5, but the under 1.5 is plus money. So I'm just taking the shot. So the pick is going to be Buckley. The bet's going to be the under 1.5, baby. That's the way we're leaning. Trying to get some plus money, find some value. All right. Next fight of the night is honestly kind of another greasy one. We have Emily Ducati plus 135 going up against Lupita Godinez at minus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 335. Under 2.5 plus 260. Let's start with my girl Loopy because she's taking this fight on short notice. Not a fan of that. She just fought 6 weeks ago, so I need her to let her body heal. She's always taking short notice fights. Just please, Loopy, after this, get a camp and let your body heal. At the end of the day, her striking I thought was better than it truly was. She is getting exposed in the striking, but at the same time, she's getting better too. It's weird. Like I just overcompensated on the regional scene. However, her striking has looked better each fight in the UFC. Her wrestling also looks pretty good. It's a little overrated because she took down Ariana Carnelossi like 9 times, but Carnelossi has like 20% takedown defense. Like anyone can. I think my wife could take down Carnelossi. Like she cannot stuff a takedown. So that number is her wrestling skewed just a touch. She wasn't able to take down Cynthia Calvillo. She didn't take down Angela Hill. She did take down Luma a few times, but Loma is not a true 115 pounder. She's really an atom weight. So she took down someone with terrible takedown defense easily, and she took down someone that's fighting a weight class up easily. So it is what it is. But Lupi has a ton of power. She has good jujitsu. She has good striking. She's good absolutely everywhere. She does love to push forward a little bit. Um, Her cardio's okay, but she can slow just a touch each time. So be cognizant of the fact that she can slow down in her fights. On the flip side, Ducati, she's another one of these wrestle boxers. Her striking's okay; it's pretty good. She'll have a 2 inch reach advantage here, which is pretty nice for her. Pretty high volume. She's pretty durable, but she is kind of hittable. Angela Hill put some numbers up on this girl. Um, it's just when I watch her, her biggest issue when I'm watching her fight McFarlane, when I'm watching her fight Angela Hill, when they move forward and pressure her, she is not the same fighter fighting off her back foot. If you push her and make her go backwards and try to muscle her, she doesn't react well. It's very peculiar. Her volume gets a lot lower when you're the one going forward. And again, Loopy likes to go forward. So as long as Loopy can try to bully her in the cage, Loopy's stronger, faster, probably better than McFarlane, and she lost to McFarlane twice. So I think Loopy can replicate that. So the pick is going to be Loopy, and the bet is going to end up being Loopy. And we're already on our co-main event of the evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have Edmund Shabazian at plus 205 going up against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez at minus 245. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 150. Under 1.5 plus 120. And as I said before, if you win me money, I'm rocking with you forever. And my boy Fluffy Hernandez gave me the best bet I ever made in my life. I bet Anthony Fluffy Hernandez to win by sub against a black belt hunter. This man went out there and one arm guillotined him in the second round, and it was the biggest hit I've ever had in betting. Period. It was like plus 2,500 or something crazy like that. But I knew Vieira had a bad weight cut, and I knew Vieira does slow down in his fights when he gets real tired. The easiest way to lose when you're tired is getting submitted. You just run out of gas and you just have to give up, and that's exactly what happened. Fluffy went out there, got taken down 5 times, 4 or 5 times. Vieira got tired doing it. Fluffy hung in there because Fluffy has good jujitsu, man. It's sneaky good. His striking's all right. His wrestling's pretty good. He's a chain wrestler. He will continually try to get you down to the ground. And he has infinite cardio. He's one of these guys that use the cardio to his advantage as a weapon. The only problem I have with Fluffy is that he's chinny as fuck. Like he got knocked out by uh Kevin Holland with a body shot 40 seconds into the fight. Marcus Perez rocked him before tapping him out. He got rocked by Josh Fremd, even though he won the fight. He did get rocked by him. I'm pretty sure Mark Andre caught him with something once too. Like he gets rocked in all of his fights, even though he's winning them. He's still getting touched up on a lot of them. It's a little hittable, and he does not react well when he gets hit. But God, he's a great wrestler. He has great cardio, and he has good jiu-jitsu. So yeah, is he going to get hit or is he going to get the takedown? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Edmund's going to come out looking like $1,000,000. As Edmund is by far head and shoulders the better striker here. Edmund's a very good striker. He's only 25 years old. He carries a ton of power. Most of his wins are in the first round by knockout. His takedown defense is improving. It looks better and better each fight. He switched camps, moving over to Extreme Couture, which is a really, really good camp. Everything about this kid is on the up and up. The problem with him is he has two major problems. He's rocking a 65% takedown defense and he has bad cardio. What did we say Fluffy does? the Mexican Marab, which is what I've been calling Fluffy, weaponizes cardio and chain wrestles. Those are the two things Edmund can't stop. However, what is the one thing wrong with Fluffy? He has no chin. Edmund, all of his wins first round knockout. So this is the definition of wrestler versus grappler. But as I did fight tape, or sorry, wrestler versus striker. But as I did fight tape, I did realize Edmund always comes out looking phenomenal. He looked round one, he looked great against Derek Brunson. Round one, he looked great against Nazardine. Round one, he looked great against Jack Hermanson. Like all of these losses, he came out and he looked phenomenal round one. And then round two, finish. Jack Hermanson, decision. Derek Brunson, round three, finish. Like he gasses out. He can't keep it up. So, Fluffy, again, huge price tag for Fluffy. You're minus 245. Fuck that noise. What you're going to do is you're going to bet, you're going to live bet. Edmund's going to win round one, and you're going to sweat, and you're going to hate that you bet Fluffy. Either Fluffy's going to be KO'd round one, or he's going to struggle to get the takedown, and Edmund's going to look like $1,000,000. The line's going to flip, and that's when you bet Fluffy. Fluffy does not get tired. Edmund cannot go past 2 rounds. So if Fluffy survives that first round, you live bet the fuck out of Fluffy and you get great value and you get that W. So the pick is going to be Hernandez. The bet is going to be my boy Fluffy Hernandez, baby. And that takes us to the main event. Again, for whatever reason, if you haven't, make sure you give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever there's social media, there is a Stats to Stacks podcast. And we have Mackenzie Dern at minus 190 going up against Angela Overkill Hill at plus 160. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is minus 150. Under 4.5 at plus 120. Let's start with Mackenzie Dern because I think she's kind of trash, to be honest with you. I think her jiu-jitsu is world class. I think you do not go to the ground with her because she will tap you out quickly. She is that good on the ground. She's a female black belt hunter. Like she is good on the ground. Striking improving. It's still not good, but it's come a long way since she's entered the UFC. It does look much better. Much respect to her. Her wrestling, not so much. Her wrestling is terrible. I think she has like a 15% takedown accuracy. She cannot take anyone down. She took down what's Amanda Nunez, Nina Nunez. And I think that's it. I think that's her only takedown. Did she take down Marina Rodriguez? She might have. I know Yan Janan, they ended up on the ground. She's like one of these girls that will pull guard or she'll grab a hold of one of your body parts and just like climb you like a tree. She realizes she can't get the takedown, so she will get into a jiu-jitsu competition by any means necessary, even if it's grabbing your arm and leaping onto your shoulder and just trying to create some sort of scramble to where you guys hit the mat. She will do what she has to do. Her cardio seems to check out, which is nice. In her schedule, she's fought great girls. Again, Yan Janad, Marina Rodriguez, Tisha Torres, Nina Nunez, Verna Jandaroba. Like, she's fought a lot of good girls, and she has a lot of good wins, honestly. But at the end of the day, she's starting to get exposed here. If she's forced to be on the feet, she's in trouble. And when you do go to the ground, as long as you can stay safe, you're fine. Just give up the round. Who cares? Just don't get tapped out. Just stay safe, and then you'll win the next one. She can't take you down. If you get down to the mat, it's usually a fluke. Take a note of it, take the round off, come back hot. That's all you can do, especially in a 5 rounder. That just actually hurts her being in 5 rounders. If she's in the 3 rounder and she can control you for a round, stealing 1 round in a 3 round fight is huge. In a 5 round fight, not as much. So 5 rounds actually hurts Mackenzie Dern. On the flip side, we have Angela Hill. Here's the problem: Angela Hill's 38 years old, but Angela Hill does not fight like she's 38 years old. She has the gift that keeps on giving. She's 38. She has a 15-12 record. So Vegas keeps giving you great odds on her. She's plus 200 in every single fight. She's plus 160 in this matchup. And honestly, she absolutely kills Mackenzie Dern on the feet. Her striking is far better. Her takedown defense, so much better than it used to be. This girl's been in the UFC forever. But her takedown defense has gotten so much better. It's night and day better than when she got into the UFC. Her jiu-jitsu has gotten a lot better as well, but if this hits the mat, she is in some trouble against Mackenzie Dern. But Hill's cardio is great. She has even better cardio than Mackenzie Dern. They both have good cardio, and they both look fresh as a daisy in the fifth round. Hill's going to have an inch and a half on her. Hill has fought probably the better girls, to be honest with you. Claudia Gadelia, Michelle Watterson, Luma Carnelosi. They both fought Jan, Random Marcos. Oh God, Jessica Andrade, Nina Nunez as well. Like they've all fought the who's who. Rose Yamanunas, Tisha Torres, Carla Esparza. Like she has literally fought the who's who of this weight class. She's 15-12, but like all of her fights are in the UFC. She's a badass. I love Angela Hill. It's just again, she's 38, so you have to keep an eye on it. But she's looking better and better. I mean, I've been talking about her age for the last 3 years, and she's looking better the more she goes. At the end of the day, it's striker versus grappler. I always take the grapplers in these instances, but if the grappler can't wrestle to save their lives, I'm probably looking the way of the better striker at plus money. So the pick is going to be Angela Hill. The bet is going to end up being Angela Hill, and that's UFC Vegas 73. Again, make sure you give this video a like, a subscribe, hit that follow button. At the end of the day, we're here to make money. Let's get money. Let's get it, baby.